Hello from my basement studio. A warning first. This video is intended for people who make music with a computer and who already know the basics. All others are welcome to listen to me anyway, but I'm afraid the content of my words will produce nothing but question marks in their heads. Also, I'm German, so I guess you will have to just live with my accent during the course of this video. First, I'll tell you what you can expect and what it's all about in a nutshell. Some of you might know it already, or I'm sure I've mentioned it from time to time. Besides writing and narrating bloody and dark stories, I also like to make and produce music. 90% of the time it is heavy metal in all possible forms. A few days ago I was working on a project. Somehow it didn't really work out, didn't find my flow. You might know that there are days when you can't get anything done the way you want it to turn out. I don't even know what my problem was that day, but I got distracted and started recording a sample pack with my old faithful warlock named Agent Starling, instead of frustrating myself with my actual project. I called the resulting sample pack Dirty Little Warlock, and you can download it for free. As a little bonus, and because it's Christmas, there's also a patch for Reasons and an XT sampler included, and also there is another little surprise. Great piece of software, also Reason and NXT. I love that thing. Not as much as my Warlock, but still. Yeah, don't worry, this introduction is about to end, and in a minute you'll be able to hear what you can do with the samples. But first, a little disclaimer. What you get in this download is not a virtual instrument like Shred H3 or the other virtual guitars from Ample Sounds or something you might already know. You get the raw material, and if you are not a Reason user, there's a lot of work ahead if you want to make use of these samples. You'll have to load all those little sound snippets into the sampler of your choice, set up parameters, key zones and all that. And even if you use Reason and take the patch I provide as a starting point, yes, even then you still have a lot to do. But well, it costs you nothing but your time, and a good virtual guitar starts at about €100, $120, something like that, as far as I know. Besides, self-made is always cooler than bought, isn't it? The sounds in my sample pack are clean, no distortion, no sound processing of any kind, just the way they come out of the guitar. As I know, shredding right away would be kind of awesome, but this way you have maximum flexibility to exactly get the sound you have in mind. Of course, within the framework that the sound source provides. The samples are dirty, hiss and crackle here and there, and they are sometimes cut quite quite irregularly. Wow, that's fun. Quite irregularly, and that on purpose. What I find terrible about all the virtual guitars, as impressive as they may be, is the sterile sound that always shines through, even if the manufacturers usually do a pretty good job of softening this effect. There are several recordings for each note and articulation variation. You know what I mean, yeah. in the download we have Palmmutes, Powerchords, third chords, only in minor because it's all about metal, Singlenotes, Tremolo Picking, false and natural harmonics, pick slides and other noise, as well as bendings, normal slides and vibrato variations. In the piece of music that I am really going to play shortly, I've tried to use as many of these variations as possible. Also, I would like to ask you not to judge the music itself, if that is at all possible, but the sound and the richness of variation of the guitars. I spent hardly any time on the drums and bass. They are just there to give the whole thing some kind of framework. Both bass guitar and drums were generated from Reason standard presets and simply serve the above-mentioned purpose. The distortion of the guitars come, on the one hand, from the soft tube amp simulation, which is included in Reason, and on the other hand from the Ignite Emissary bundle, which I find pretty awesome. It's free, by the way. I'll put the link in the description below. On the middle guitar, the lead guitar, there's a little chorus and a little delay, just like you'd expect. I did not use impulse responses to simulate guitar speakers. I could somehow never make friends using those, no idea why. So if you have experience with IRs, you should know how to judge the sound. Before I press start right now, I have a request. If you download the samples and find them kinda cool, please share this video and maybe leave me a like or a subscription, even if this channel is not focused on music production and to 99% only has German content. Would be great and make me happy. But now, here comes the music. hope I could show you what is possible with the Dirty Little Warlock Sample Pack and what it is good for. At the moment, there are quite a lot of samples, but not enough yet. That's why the rhythm guitars are not really doubled. What you just heard is fake stereo. That means that the same samples are sent once into the emissary and once into the soft tube. Then each audio stream is once put to the right and left respectively. Considering this fact, I think the result is pretty neat though. What do you think? Please let me know. Theoretically, you could take this much further. There's nothing stopping you from building the ultimate guitar wall out of 6 or 8 amp simulations and distortion pedals, although it's a fact that true doubling will always be superior to such an approach. It would also be conceivable to additionally copy the MIDI tracks and minimally change the timing of the notes in each individual track. Could be done by hand or with a humanization function of sorts. Furthermore, you could load several instances of the sampler and tweak the master pitch in the send range to tickle out even more differences between the tracks. But to be honest, that was a bit too much work for such a small demo video. Here we have a single MIDI track and a single sampler for the rhythm guitars. In a real production, however, going the extra mile would be well worth the effort. As I said, if the samples still sound too sterile for your taste, you have to put more work into it, and not only into the guitar tracks, but also in the other instruments to get a more lively result. In my opinion, the sample pack is super suitable for composing when there's no guitar at hand. So for guitar players, for non-guitar players who like to get noisy or want to work on ideas to show their bandmates, the sample pack is great anyway. You can really lose yourself in the possibilities it offers. What I've noticed about myself on the subject of composing: you tend to compose differently, come up with different ideas when you don't have your instrument in your hand. I tend to see the song more as a whole, rather than always instinctively recalling the same movements and patterns that you have by default in your muscle memory. I am not saying this way of working on music is better, but it's different. I would definitely be happy if one or the other has use for the samples. Please let me know if you got something going with it. By the way, of course you can also render your self-composed guitar tracks clean, meaning undistorted, and further process them in any DAW of your choice. What I sometimes found a bit difficult was to get the right gain level with which you then address the distortion. That's why I added an equalizer before and after each amp or distortion pedal. I found that the EQ before the distortion makes a lot of difference. Now and then a compressor was also used directly after the EQs. But you have to test that for yourself, because every piece of software and every piece of music is different. Also, adjusting the release times of the samples to the speed of your songs seems a good idea. The faster the music, the shorter the release times. At least that's what I have found out. As for plugged or semi-acoustic intros and interludes, I think you would also get those going with the samples in the download. And now I'll quickly show you the mapping, meaning the arrangement of the individual samples in my NNXT patch. For this I'll switch to live mode. Free talking is not really my thing, unfortunately. That's why I've written down all the chatter so far. Otherwise, you'd have to torture yourself through too many ass, ass and painful pauses. Yeah. Okay guys, here we go. I hope this will work out without a script. What you see here is the project that is included in the download. We have one lane of drums with Groovemaster Rocket number 5, which is included in Reason Standard, the miserable pick bass synthesizer, and then we have the NNXT patches that are also included in the download. We have this lane here, which is which I use for the rhythm guitar, and then we have a copy of it which I use as a lead guitar. What you see here is some automation for the pitch wheel with which you create those screaming Slayer vibe sounds. Yeah, that's that. Away with you. And here I'll show you the patch. I'll scroll up all to the beginning. So it starts on the lowest octave because I figured that I would really need all the octaves, which was kind of true. Okay, the patch starts with the Palmmutes. For each note here on the virtual keyboard, we have about 8 samples recorded, which then, if the note is pressed, will randomly be picked and played. With Reason, you switch this function on and off right here. Also, it's called round robin with other sampling software. And for creating a close to the real thing instrument patch, they are absolutely necessary. Okay, how do we go on? From the Palmmutes we go to the Powerchords. Okay, we are at this. Here they come. Here are the Powerchords, and again for each note we have really many samples recorded. Most of them are the lowest variation of a Powerchord, and then there's a minor harmony with just 2 strings. It's not a real chord, but you get what I mean. I guess, and some octaves. After the to be said, you can separate them if you want. For this project, I left them all in one group because I wanted a little bit of chaos. So I do not know each time the low E power chord is played which version will be picked by the software. So it's always slightly different what you hear. Then one octave above the power chords we have the low tremolo picking, and I placed it there because I found that for metal the low tremolo picking is part of the rhythm work and not so much of the melody work. What's to say here? Yes, they are looped, those samples, meaning if one recording ended, it will start right at the beginning for another time, as long as you press the key down or as the note you have drawn lasts, right? Then we have many octaves of single notes in various variations, and not all of them carry the same variations, I have to say that, so you know. But the mid-E, it has all of them. It has your usual tones, it has slides beginning 2 frets below the tone you aim for. It's a slide in. Guitarists or guitar players will know that, and others will have heard it already without knowing what it is called. We have pinch harmonics, that's false overtones or false flageolets. I don't really know the correct term in English, but it's kind of some high-pitched screaming noise you produce with them. And for those single notes, I didn't leave it to fortune which variation will be picked, but I have made use of velocity layers. So for the normal notes you have to set velocities between 51 and 100. Then you have the pinch harmonics, which reach from a velocity of 101 to 115. Then we have the tremolo, they are low down between 1 and 50. And we have the scream bands. Again, this is not the correct term, I know that. This is when one side is bent up and simultaneously the high sides below this, I mean string. In German it's Saiten. That's why I said sides. What? Okay, again. One string is bent and the higher strings below that on your guitar neck are simultaneously activated. It's another kind of scream sound. And we have a low and a high variation of this, and they all refer to the basic note if you imagine them in a barré grip. Barré, maybe, you know, when your index finger presses on all 6 strings simultaneously. Yeah. The low variant of this starts with the G string to bend and the H and the high E string to ring with, and the high variant of this starts at the H, oh no, you guys say B, at the B string, and the high E side does ring with. Oh, that's terrible, I'm so sorry. Okay, I'll go on anyway. This we have for 3 or 4 octaves, I guess it's really 4. We have tremolo, normal tones, we have slight vibrato bending, we have scream bends, we have and slides, yeah. So for articulations for the single notes, really a lot of samples. All in all, And now we should come to the high octaves. I try to scroll. Here we go. Here we have the noises. And with the noises, I'll open that up real quick and go up here. Yeah, that's the stuff guitar players do to impress without having to practice. This sounds pretty cool and is easy peasy. You can greatly you can pose doing those like you were a metal god. What could interest you furthermore is how that thing sounds without the distortion. So I'll switch them off, both the amps. This amp sim here is a Reason own or not. And this is a VST. This is not part of the download, and it's not part of Reason. So if you don't have the Emissary Bundle VST plugin from Ignite Amps installed on your machine, you will likely get an error message, just so you know. Okay, here we go. You see, I took variations here with this. Here's tremolo, here is normal, that's also normal. That and that and that and that and that should be screamy things most of the time, which will sound real terrible without distortion. Okay, listen. Yes, I went for some Metallica ripoff because I figured starting with something familiar would be nice. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. What I'll do now is show you the download folder. As you can see here, we have 1129 files in it in 24 folders, and the uncompressed file size is about 520 megabytes. So I have sorted things quite neatly. Here we have harmonics. Those are natural harmonics. I didn't use them in the project, by the way. Here we have the scream bands, also sorted and named. Here we have the noises. They are not named, but numbered. We have the Palmmutes, starting with Powerchord Palmmutes and then going on to single note mutes. Then we have the pinch harmonics. I think they are an addition. I don't think I have included them yet. We have the power chords, we have the normal variations, we have the minor harmony, and we have the octave for complete low. For the complete lowest octave on a guitar. We have the single notes. They are also labeled as what they are: a slide, a bend. With bend I actually mean a slight vibrato. The bluesy thing. That's not really bending from one tone to another. It's in between tones. Yeah, and here we have, I think. Yeah, we also have more pinches. When they are labeled pinch and die or something and die, that means they are actually too short. I had no use for them, but maybe you will have. And there's the low octave, same thing, and the the middle octaves. So you should be set for creating some great metal. Here's tremolo stuff. Or, yep. Okay. What I forgot to mention is it's on purpose. I don't provide some distortion things or all this in a already distorted version, because so you have the most flexibility to create your own personal sound with all this. So I guess you now really know what you are in for if you download this sample pack and what you can do with it. I will now retreat to the security of my script again. Bye bye. So now you have a little insight into the work that went into this free download. I've taken a big part of the necessary preparatory work off the hands of reason users. If someone can tell me a good and free VST sampler that also offers round-robin and velocity layers, I might add some more presets for that to extend the whole thing. So if you have an idea, tell me in the comments. At the moment, I'm pretty much burning to professionalize this endeavor, and I think I'll expand the samples and variations quite a lot. What I am still missing are minor and major chords, more finger noises, real doubling meaning true stereo, more attack noises, tremolo picking with Powerchords, Palmmutes and other harmonies, real whammy bar effects, and what's really bugging me, I haven't found a way to get tapping and hammer-ons and pull-offs right yet. Does anyone know a good tutorial on simulating them? Despite all the small flaws, I think this download really gets you a bit further in terms of sample-based metal guitars. You're also very welcome to upload the zip file yourself and send it to your buddies and so on, but please only distribute the original zip file you did download. Thanks for that. Yeah, and of course, if you create music with those samples, that's all yours. Nothing required mention appreciated though. Furthermore, if you have discovered or learned something here, likes, subscriptions and forms of sharing are always an honor for me. Maybe you'll find some other things on this channel you like. Now, farewell and have fun with the samples. Oh yeah, and for good measure, here's another version of the demo track where I've down-tuned the guitars using the pitch adjustment of the NNXT. For those who need their metal a bit darker and nastier. Have fun and thanks for suffering through my talk.